Gabe Montgomery here, 10 Horse Monty YouTube channel. Wanted to talk to you today a little bit about downsizing in the summertime. You know, a lot of times you got to go down to finesse tactics and some of the reasons why that's necessary. Went fishing the other day, and this is summertime. We're in the middle of August. Got over on the water about 12:30. Started out punching and throwing a frog. The lake I was fishing has a lot of grass in it, and I did that for about 2 hours. I tried a couple different baits. You know, I had a punch skirt on, then I took the punch skirt off, and I tried some different beavers and some different D-bombs, and you know, it just wasn't working. So I pulled out onto some main lake points. The wind was blowing. Managed to catch a few fish on jigs. I'll show you those clips here real quick. Nice fish. Swimming that jig back to the boat. Grab it. Had a nice fish on it. Got my pinchers. Swimming that jig again. It's kind of slow out here. The wind's really picked up. It's blowing probably 20 miles an hour. And I noticed right off the bat that the fish are biting funny. They've kind of been doing that for the last several weeks. You know, that happens a lot in the summertime. The water's hot, but I think the main reason is they've been seeing a lot of, I got some gnats out here, mosquitoes, excuse me. They've been seeing a lot of baits. You know, people start fishing, you know, late March. You know, these fish have been getting hammered for, it's August, like I said, several months now. They're getting hammered. They've seen anything that you can buy at Walmart, they've seen it. That's all Zoom, you know, the old monsters, jigs, they've seen swim baits, they've seen it all. So they're finicky. If they feel any kind of resistance, they'll pick up the bait and they'll drop it. And that's been going on for the last several weeks or so. You get a really good bite, you reel into it, set, there's nothing there. They're just dropping it. So I noticed that right off the bat. You know, I managed to catch a few on that jig. I caught a couple on a Carolina rig. But I knew I needed to make an adjustment. So that's what I want to talk to you about, is making that adjustment. If you're getting those bites and they're just letting it go, a lot of times it's time to downsize. You're either throwing the wrong bait or it's time to downsize. You know, I went through the jig, I got some fish, the big worm, you know, I caught one or two on that, and they'd slam it and let it go. They've seen that bait. They know what that bait does. They don't like it anymore. Of course, this was 12:30 in the afternoon too. I'm fishing the worst time of the day. I like to make it hard on myself. If you go in the morning, you're going to be able to have a lot more options. You can throw a lot of that normal stuff and get bit. But as the day wears on, it gets a little tougher. You got to start downsizing. So I was chasing a squirrel there. Let me get back to it. I noticed that they weren't picking that stuff up. They were just dropping it. So that tells me I need to downsize my tackle. What I did was went to the shaky head. That's a confidence thing for me. You got high skies, you got clear water. The water temps are probably mid 80s, I guess. You've had several months of pressure. You got to go light. And I'll show you what I went with first. Actually, you know, I've got 14-pound tests on a bait caster, just a 7-foot medium heavy rod. Reason I go to a bait casting rod on a shaky head, or when do I go to a bait casting rod on a shaky head? It's anytime I'm throwing a 1/4 ounce or heavier. The 1/4 ounce is kind of the borderline. You could throw that on a spinning rod, but it seems to me when I go up to, you know, for me, quarter ounce, for me, a quarter ounce on up to, you know, 3/8, half, 3/4 ounce. Sometimes you're throwing 3/4 ounce football heads. That needs to be on a bait caster for sure. But quarter ounce is that breaking point. So I got 14-pound test, quarter ounce ball head, jig head, shaky head, and I've got a little speed crawl on there. I started out throwing the brush hog, and here's some footage of that. Same deal, baby brush hog. Nice fish. It's a little better fish. Same deal, just throwing that shaky head, quarter ounce shaky head on a bait casting rod. Now, I didn't mention earlier, but the reason I like if I'm throwing a quarter ounce or heavier on the shaky head, I like to go up to a bait caster. Just handles better. I feel like I'm gonna break off if I got spinning gear on a heavier weight. But nice fish. Just fishing these main lake rock banks, near deep water. You know, most of these fish are coming in 10 to 14 foot of water, but I got, you know, 20 foot of water nearby, so they can just spin and slide up and feed when they want to. Let's go do it again. I'm running out of time. Shaky head. It's pretty slow out here. And I caught several fish on that brush hog. They were picking it up really light, and you just got to watch your line. A lot of times you'll just feel that little bit of bite. Sometimes you won't, and they'll pick it up and they'll start moving off with it, and that's all you get. And after a while, I noticed that they were getting a little bit used to that brush hog in that area, and so I decided to switch to this little speed crawl. So that's, you know, that's downsizing even more in my opinion. What's going on over there, these fish are schooling, and as the day wears on, they move up towards the bank, some of these deeper banks, and set up for the evening. If you're downsized to the baby brush hog or the speed crawl and you're still having problems, you got to take a step down. I'm throwing 14-pound tests on that, so sometimes you got to step down even further and go more finesse-y. That's when I'm breaking out my spinning rod. Okay, I got 8-pound fluoro, got 15-pound braided line tied together with the J Blatel loop knot. Check that out, I got a video on that. It's a great little knot. It's quick, easy, and it does the job. So that's when I'm going with like a 3/16 or a 1/8 ounce shaky head set on 8-pound test. This is just a 4-inch Yumdinger. Any kind of straight-tailed worm, small straight-tailed worm, small Cinco, but that profile, that small profile, that profile imitates shore minnow. I think they think it's a minnow. You know, if you look around in the water, look around in the grass, you'll see these little minnows that are about 3 to 4 inches long, and they just kind of dart around. I'm thinking that looks a lot like it. That's what I'm thinking in my head. So this is a step down from the baby brush hog and the speed crawl. Go down to that, slow down. If you're in an area, you know the fish are there, slow down. If you've graphed it, you know they're there. Slow down. The key right now over there has been rocky areas and the outside grass line. I've been keying in on the rocky areas in the mid-lake section. That seems to be producing for me. I'm not catching big fish right now. I'm just not timing it right. They're in the area. It's just a matter of timing. So if you're having trouble in the summertime throwing traditional baits, don't be afraid to downsize. It'll get you more bites. It can turn a really grind of a day into a really fun day. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and till next time. Okay, I just wanted to show you kind of what these fish are doing right now. You can see on my side scan there's a little school of them, and they're just sitting off the side of that drop. You got a drop right here, and there's the fish right there, and they're just sitting in little schools, and when they want to feed, they just slide up and feed. So you're just trying to find little areas where the fish are up tight on the bank, or you know, they've slid up in that 10 to 14 foot of water and they're feeding. These fish are hard to catch. Those are actually kind of tightly schooled. You might be able to catch a couple of them with a swim bait or a hair jig or underspin or something, but those fish drive you nuts, man. You can waste a lot of time on those fish. So bottom line, you're better off just to find areas where those fish are pulled up and try to target those fish. You know, one thing about summertime fishing is when you find one fish, you usually find a school of them. So the whole deal is just to kind of bounce around, and I've caught multiple fish in several areas today. So it's just about finding that school, and when you get bit, slow down, throw something finessey, and you'll probably catch some more fish. These are the kind of areas I've been targeting. You got natural rock, and then you've got some man-made riprap, and there'll be like a little seam right here where there's a rock change, and you got a little bit of grass out here on this point, got a little lay down. Just got a little bit of everything to offer the fish. And you got deep water, and they'll pull up out of this deep water and set up in this grass and along these rocks when they're ready to feed. And if you're there when they're doing it, you're going to catch them. You know, another thing I like to do, and it's a pretty common thing to do, is I got this chartreuse dye, and I like to take the tentacles of this brush hog and just dip them in there. A couple reasons: it gives it a little contrast, and it also puts a little scent on the bait, makes the fish hold on to it a little longer. Okay, I'm still seeing fish on my graph, and I'm getting a few bites, but they're not picking it up. So I'm gonna go down even more finessey with a little speed crawl. Do the same thing: 1/4 ounce ball head, shaky head, and I'm gonna dip the pinchers in chartreuse. And I'm gonna go through this little area again and see if it makes a difference, because they're tapping it but they're not picking it up. So a lot of times you just gotta drop down to the next size. I like to open these pinchers up a little bit too on these. It gives them more action. There we go. So I was fishing that brush hog, getting bites, but they wouldn't take it. Went to a little speed crawl. So if you're getting bites, go to something a little smaller. My next finesse step would have been just a straight-tailed worm, you know, like a 5-inch zoom finesse worm. It's a nice fish. It's gonna be my last fish of the day. I gotta put the boat on the trailer, get to the house. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Subscribe, like, and until next time.